Welcome to the Autism in Black podcast, where we focus on all things autism and the Black parent experience. Our goal is to always educate, support, and empower parents to advocate for not only their children, but themselves. Hello, and welcome to the Autism in Black podcast. I'm Maria Davis-Pierre, a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida and America's #1 autism advocate for Black parents. I'm the founder and CEO of Autism in Black, Inc., where we aim to include the excluded. Today, we're talking about middle school transition. If you have been following me on social media, you've seen that I've mentioned throughout this past academic school year that my daughter was in her last year of elementary school. And just recently, she graduated from 5th grade, and she will be attending middle school come fall, come August, right? And I wanted to really have an episode where we touch on, you know, the preparation for the transition to middle school. I think a lot of focus is on the transition from middle school to high school and then high school into adulthood. And I think that there is not enough talks around the elementary to middle school transition, which is a huge transition considering hormones and emotions, right? So I wanted to talk about what we have been doing for this past academic year to prepare our daughter and prepare ourselves. I will start off and say that for me, I have a lot of anxieties and worries around her transitioning from elementary to middle school. And I think it has a lot to do with me being a therapist and also working heavily within the academic setting. So I know what happens. I know a lot about the bad things that happen, right? Because that's my job to come in and help with the bad things that are happening. So a lot of times my focus is on those bad things. So one of the best things that have been helping me in this preparation is having a solid support system. And I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about having a solid support system, but one, community is extremely important. Community is what has been helping me calm my anxieties and worries as far as this transition to middle school, having other parents that I'm able to talk to when they're like, okay, that's some faulty thinking, that's unrealistic thinking. Let's bring it back and be a little bit more realistic. Or they've said, hey, my kid's been in middle school. This is some of the things that we've experienced. And you're like, oh my God, I wasn't even thinking of that. But thank you for talking about that because now I can prepare my child for that situation, right? So having a solid support system is one of the things that I think is really helpful for not only you, but your child as well. So for me, my support system really was truthful that when the academic year, when her 5th grade year started in August, I called my friend Cheryl and I was like, we have to start preparing for Malia's transition to middle school. And she was like, oh my God, you're late. If she's starting middle school this month, we're late. We have to really get on. And I was like, oh no, she starts, next year. And she was like, you're starting a year ahead. I was like, yeah. She's like, okay, you're doing too much. Right. And she was like, let's wait until end of the year, January, and we will start preparing then, right? And I was like, okay. So come January, we had our first IEP meeting for our daughter. My lawyer attended, of course, me and the rest of the school administrators who are usually there, as well as a representative from middle school. Now, here we do school choice. So our children are able to put in applications to particular schools that they want to attend to that have the programs they are interested in. So if your child is interested in an arts program, they have arts middle schools, fine arts middle schools, they have STEM middle schools. our child was particularly interested in a teacher preparation program and a culinary preparation program. Ultimately, she chose to apply for the culinary school, and she did get in, so yay for her. But at the time of the first meeting, we the school choice application process was still going on, so we hadn't gotten her acceptance letter yet. So they just had a representative from our home middle school, which turns out is the school that she applied for and got in. So that worked out for us. So her IEP is pretty much padded and prepped to for the person that she is, right? It's unique. It has all of those things for her that are going to help her. So as far as accommodations and modifications, there weren't too many things that needed to be added, particularly for her for middle school. Two of the things that we added in for her specifically for middle school was the fact that she could leave class early if she wanted to. And we did that for several reasons. One, in thinking about her having to get to her next class in time, of course, but also the fact that those hallways in middle school may get congested. It may be loud noises. It may be a lot of overwhelming stimuli on top of her anxiety to get to her next class because she is a very prompt person. She does not like to be late. Those things cause her anxiety. So we put the fact that if she wants to, she can leave the class early to get to her next class, right? And we have told her about that option and we'll try it out. She's probably going to start not utilizing the leaving the class early. She may start with, just when the bell rings, trying to get to her class. If she sees that that's a problem, then of course we'll tweak it from there. And then the second thing that we added was the fact that she could use her the second thing that we added was the fact that she could use her cellular phone in school. So she's going to be able to take pictures of her assignments, her homework, things of that nature, so that she does not have to worry about rushing and trying to write it all down. She's going to be able to take a photo of it. And then that helps us as well, because then we don't have to decipher her handwriting and we can look at the pictures and know exactly what we're assisting her with. And then the other thing that we did as far as just prepping her is that we contacted the school. Our lawyer let us know that she should be able to do at least 3 tours of the school before the academic year starts so that she can get used to the layout of the school. So we contacted the school and spoke with them about that. They let us know that she can come at any time in the summer, that administration's all there. So we will be taking her several times throughout the summer for her to be able to, one, just get used to the layout of the school, but also she'll go through her actual schedule so that she knows where she has to be. So she'll start at her homeroom and whatever her schedule is for throughout the day. And then we've also prepped her to know that her schedule changes daily. So preparing her that, your 4th period class may start in the morning or it may start later in the afternoon, just depending on that day of the week with the school, because they have a rotating schedule. So preparing her for those things. So we actually start letting her take her cell phone at the end of her 5th grade year to make sure that she was responsible with it, not utilizing it for things that she wasn't supposed to be utilizing it for, the fact that she would keep up with it, and things like that. So preparing her in that manner. What else have we done with her? There's so much, guys. I probably should have been writing it down, but we were really just going through the motions a lot for ourselves as well. Something that we are going to be doing this summer is having a more in-depth conversation with her about sex and the topic of sex and the conversations around puberty and her body changing and things of that nature that happens. So we will be having in-depth conversations about that. I signed up for a sex positive course. And the good thing about it is the course is not only for me as a parent and how to have this conversation, but it's a course that she can actually sit down and we could do it together, and it will open up those conversations for her. We have always had talks around good touch, bad touch, privacy, and things of that nature. But because she is having that transition to middle school, we want to make sure that we are having the conversation with her before she has the conversation with others and doesn't get the right information, right? So we are preparing her with accurate information because we know that um, a lot of times when you're in school and you're in middle school, the things that they're saying may not be completely accurate, right? So we want to make sure we're preparing her with accurate information. So, and this won't be a one and done conversation for us. We have these conversations as an ongoing thing, right? Especially understanding that there may not be particular understanding around certain things, or having to make sure we're having the conversation more than once so that the information sticks. So it will be a constant, ongoing conversation for us. Something that we did have to prepare her for in particular is the amount of homework that she may be getting. So in elementary school, she didn't really get a lot of homework. She only had math homework that she was getting daily. However, in middle school, there's a chance that she may have homework for each and every one of her classes, right? So the workload will be different for her. So we have talked to her about, organization and responsibilities, and understanding that not to put so much pressure on herself, that she does have accommodations. So if she needs extra time, that is available to her, right? Um, Also for her, another change that is going to be happening is the fact that she will now be receiving letter grades and a numeric GPA. And she has to actually keep a 3.0 to stay in the culinary program. So that is something that is different for all of us, because at the elementary school that our children attend in our county, and I think a few other elementary schools as well in our county, they do not give letter grades. They just let you know if your child is on academic grade level, needs help to get on academic grade level, or they're above the grade level. So that's kind of what we get on our report cards. And then of course we get the IEP progress reports as well for our two children who have IEPs. Um, so that will be a change for her. So we have prepared her for that and letting her know that um, there are times that, her letter grade may not be reflective of who she is and what her capabilities are, and not, I guess, letting her think less of herself if she was to get a letter grade that wasn't A, because for her, she's going to want an A. So having those realistic conversations with her about those types of expectations as well. Um, Letting her know that she can talk to us about any and everything. There's nothing that is off limits for us. This is something that we instill all the time with our children, but we are definitely letting her know that any and everything that she wants to talk about, she's able to talk about that with us. So I will be checking for signs of anxiety, and any of those signs that, are cause for concern. And then she also has it in her IEP. It's been a part of her IEP for many years now, that if the teachers, the school has cause for concern academic progress wise, they are not to wait until um, the problem has gotten like worse or out of hand. They're the first sign of an issue, they are to get in contact with us so that we can address the issue, right? Something that we're also doing is hiring a tutor for her to help her, because I know, at least for me, I am I do not like homework. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't like homework. I do not have good executive functioning skills myself. I've never been one to, I procrastinate on most everything. So because I want her to be better than me and, do things differently for me to cause her less stress, we have started the process of finding a tutor for her that's going to help her, because she is going to a school where she is completely gen ed. There will not be any of those supports that she has had in the past, as far as like, being pulled out or the small group setting, right? Um, so those are mostly everything that we've done to really prepare her, prepare ourselves. We're doing a lot of strategies and techniques to make sure that we're managing anxiety. We have prepped her IEP. We have looked into tours of the school. We've had difficult or having difficult conversations, or those taboo conversations that first happen. So, I think for me, I am a prepper and I like to have control and I like to know what to expect and what's going on. And this transition and preparing for this transition has showed me I have absolutely no control, because a lot of things I'm not going to know until they happen, right? I can't really prepare myself or my child going to middle school because she's my first child that's going to middle school. So a lot of things we're going to be learning together. And I have to, one, give myself grace, give her grace, tell her to give herself grace, um, give us grace as parents, because there's sometimes we're just not going to get it right, but we will try to make it right, right? Um, and something that my friend Cheryl told me, she was like, don't feel as if you can't amend anything at any point, right? Yes, this is the school that she wanted to go to. Yes, this is the program she wanted to be in. But if we see it's not a fit, we have the right to change that, right? So just keeping that in the back of our minds as well, to know that we can amend the process, especially if it's proven to be stressful for her. We want to make sure that we're always doing what is necessary to make sure that she is healthy and whole, right? Um, so as far as what we're doing in the summer, we are, one, making sure that they all get to have fun. We have a lot of activities planned um, for her. For our children, ESY is not something that we particularly enroll them in, especially because I try to make sure we're staying on top of it for the academic year. And then ESY, I want them to have a break. So we'll, choose things that are of their interest, where they can still make sure that they are not regressing in anything, but having different opportunities to learn those skill sets, whatever they are. So we'll be doing that. Of course, we'll be having that sex conversation, preparing her for that. And any of the other hard conversations that may arise that I'm not thinking about. We'll be touring that school several times. And of course, like I said, just making sure it is a chill, relaxing summer for her, so that come August, she's able to be refreshed and start her academic year anew. Oh, and something else that we have been doing is increased independence with her. She's a very independent child. And I think for me, I have been loosening, I guess, the reins, and so to speak, to let her really be independent in a lot of aspects. So that is something that we've also been working on this last academic year, and something that we will continue on with her. So yeah, I think those are the things that we have really been working on for this transition from elementary to middle school. As the academic year comes nearer, I'll probably do another episode on what we have done, how the conversation went, because I know that that is something that a lot of parents dread. For me, I'm not dreading it. I think um, the top priority for my worry is making sure she understands the importance of the conversation. So that's probably where my worry is going to be. Um, Other than that, I'm about as prepped as we can be. We've done everything that we can do. Um, oh, another thing that I don't know if I mentioned or not in regards to the IEPs. So before I let you all go from this conversation, something else that we did was look at her evaluations and see which ones needed to be redone before the end of the academic school year. So in her case, the most out of date evaluations were certain speech and language evaluations. The rest of her evaluations were done within the last year. So her comprehensive psychological evaluation, academic IQ, things like that, those had all been done recently. The only thing that hadn't been done recently and was not reflective of who she is currently was her speech and language. So make sure that you are looking at the evaluations for your child early enough in the school year to see which ones need to be redone, so that they are redone prior to them going to middle school, so that they also will have that bigger picture of who your child is and a more comprehensive picture of who they are, up to date, I would say, picture of who they are. So make sure that you are looking at the evaluations um, in enough time to give the school enough time to get them done, because we do know that because of, at least here in our county with COVID, with the lack of educators, lack of school staff, things like that, timing can be rough. So we made sure that there was enough time to get those evaluations done for her. So make sure that you guys are doing that as well. Other than that, I think we've covered most everything that we've done to prep for her transition to middle school. For us, it was really, or rather me, because let my husband tell it, he's just as fine as she is. um, for me, it was a main focus on my mindset and calming my anxieties and worries, because I knew that even if I was not prepared to make sure her IEP was where it needed to be, we have a lawyer who takes care of that. We have an advocate who takes care of that for us. So I think my biggest priority was my mindset, because this has been something that I have been overthinking since the end of fourth grade year. So again, once we start her sixth grade academic year, I think that I will be less anxious because I will have started to experience it. But until then, it's going to be something that is anxiety provoking for me, because I know what happens in middle school. And a lot of what happens is, mind-boggling if I was to tell you guys some of the stories that I've dealt with. So it's just a big transition for everybody involved. So I will keep you all up to date. We'll be discussing this again right before the start of the academic year. And then, once she's gotten some months into her 6th grade year, we'll have another follow-up to say if we had to tweak anything or, we needed to change anything, because I think it's important to have these conversations. Again, you all are more than welcome to join the Autism in Black community, where you can have those supports and have individuals who are understanding, what you're going through, who can give you this type of advice and have a more intimate setting for us to have these talks. So feel free to click the link in the show notes to be able to join our Autism in Black community. We're also have the replays for the 3rd annual Autism in Black conference. And then you can also secure your ticket to the 4th annual Autism in Black conference. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. If you haven't done so, make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you can always be notified when a new episode drops. To get the resources shared on today's podcast and the show notes, make sure to go to autisminblack.org/podcast. And be sure to share your takeaways from the show on IG Stories and Twitter using our official hashtag AIBpod so that we can find them and share them. And if you want to continue the conversation from today's episode, make sure to join our Autism in Black podcast Facebook community. And please make sure to answer the questions to gain entry. Thank you for listening and joining me this week. Have a good one.